All right, let's just talk some Gutekunst. Why don't we just get into it, Bob?
All right.
Let's do it. Okay. So you said last week, average GM, average coach, right?
Can I define average?
Please.
Average to me, there's 32 decision makers in the NFL. Average is 15, 16, or 17. To me, that's solid. Some people think average, there's a negative connotation to it. To me, it's average. I look at it as legit. I think a C is a good grade, a solid grade, Tyler, though, in my grading. Most people don't. So I just got him in the middle. Could be better, could be worse.
That's fair. And I'm sure a lot of people do agree with you. I think I'm grading more on a curve looking at the quarterback position. Number one, start there, 2020. I think you got to know what you're dealing with, right? With Aaron Rodgers as a player that was off of 2019, right? Went to the NFC Championship game, lost in San Francisco, 13-3. In his mind, at the very peak of his powers, all of that. And you almost got to look at the person too. I just pulled up the old Bleacher Report story because I think it kind of shed a little light on what they're dealing with at quarterback and Aaron. So this is one former Packers personnel man. He described Rodgers as someone who's, quote, really into his feelings, who's not kind of sensitive, he's real sensitive. It's as if Rodgers cannot hear millions of people calling him a walking Hall of Famer. This is my words. As if Rodgers is still the spiky haired kid free falling on draft day. Every scrap of negative press, every perceived slight from a teammate, a coach, whoever, quote, bothers him to his core, unquote. This personnel source said. It hurts him. It's like, dude, you're Aaron Rodgers. Relax. People are trying to crown you as the greatest ever, and you've only won one Super Bowl. So you're dealing with a star who is. I mean, I think all stars have egos. All stars can be emotionally fragile, uh, but players to coaches to personnel, they really know how this guy ticks, how he's wired. Gutekunst more than anybody. So I think you got to start there with the balls to take a quarterback. This is the most important position in sports. Any team has realized that. Back to Ron Wolf in '92 on, it's the Packers to always be drafting quarterbacks, always be thinking 2, 3 years in advance. There were some subtle signs. Maybe there's a little coming off that fastball. Maybe Aaron is getting older, and Tom Brady kind of broke people's brains in terms of how long quarterbacks can stay at an MVP elite level. So there was a ton of logic in the draft pick. You have a Super Bowl window. You take a T Higgins, you're trying to maximize that window. I like the GM who is going to set up the Packers for the next 15 years. Right? And you're going to hurt feelings. Aaron Rodgers told us all then he drank the tequila, not his usual scotch, drank tequila, was very upset. And I'm sure Gutekunst knew it was going to get ugly. Maybe didn't know if it'd get this ugly. The next off season, after Aaron Rodgers wins MVP and loses again in the playoffs, we should say, holds holds the Packers hostage, makes it clear through allies, Gutekunst or me. That was never denied to my knowledge, that report by Yahoo. Gutekunst has to leave for Aaron Rodgers to report. I guess it's a long-winded way of saying I don't think there's a lot of GMs that have the guts to do that, to take a quarterback when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. And he probably knew. I think he's a little smarter than maybe you give him credit for. I think this is me saying it more than somebody telling me directly. I think he knew it was going to piss off Aaron. And we've seen Aaron Rodgers pissed off play his best football. That run in 2016, as good as it gets. Uh, that's kind of what gets him going. So I'm sure he wasn't that upset about it. Where I will criticize him is to then kowtow and give in and give him that money. And you've noted it was an organizational failure, 150 mil. I mean, they're just drowning in all that dead cap right now. But I think that also speaks to the GM's intellect and ability to find talent that here they are in week 18, winning in with Jordan Love in his first year when you've got Bo Melton and Dontavian Wicks and Rasheed Walker at left tackle. The draft, I'd like if we can do it real quick. I mean, we can go through the drafts too. And back to Love also, where I think they do deserve criticism for maybe not moving on from Rodgers when he's holding them hostage and doing all that offseason. And financially, they're still living those consequences. It did give Jordan Love 2 more years to grow and develop. I think he would have gotten to this point eventually and looked this good. But if you're spin zoning it through the Packers' point of view, I mean, they obviously didn't think he was ready, and he had 2 more years to develop. But you go through the drafts. I mean, to your point, you said that you're not really that impressed with the drafts, right?
No.
And I get it. Gosh, he's been there a long time, hasn't he? We don't have to start at the start, but like Kenny Clark in 2016, but 2017, that's when they trade down, take Kevin King, pass on TJ Watt. You do get Aaron Jones, 182 overall. The next year, pretty rough. Josh Jackson, 45.
Tyler,
What?
2017 is Ted.
That's Ted.
Yes.
You're right.
Right.
Man, I'm blurring it all together. He was 2018.
Right.
Good catch. Yeah, because Ted took those 2 running backs. All right. Man, that one still stings, doesn't it? TJ Watt in your own state. So 2018, Jair Alexander, we spent all podcast episode nearly talking about him. Thanks to all the listeners. I think that was our most downloaded episode of all time. So don't need to get into that too much. 2019, Sean Gary, you noted Brian Burns, probably a better selection there. You can make a good debate for that. Jeffrey Simmons was there too, Christian Wilkins, but it is still hard to find an upper echelon edge rusher. And when he's on, can we agree he's on? I mean, Rashawn Gary worth the contract, worth being somebody you build a defense around? You don't think so?
He's been pretty average since the money came, Tyler. He didn't do much in this last game. I don't know. I'm still middle ground on that guy.
Savage, 21st overall. That hasn't panned out. That's a miss. Jenkins, 44. That's a hit. 2020 to take the quarterback. It could be an open and close case with. I mean, here I'm championing Jordan Love way before you're probably ready to. He's got a lot to prove, a lot to show, and this game is going to be huge on his resume. But I mean, surprise, surprise, I'm all in on Jordan Love, and if you hit, you're talking nearly half a century of peace and tranquility at quarterback. When you look at these teams like the Vikings and Bears just spinning their wheels. Dylan, yeah, started good. Hasn't gone well lately at 62. Runyon, he has started 3 years. He's a 6th-rounder. I mean, we could go on and on with these picks. I mean, Stokes, 29th the next year. He's been hurt. If he's healthy, I'd love to see him healthy as a mainstay out there. Josh Myers has played better lately. You're going to get into the offensive line soon. Amari Rodgers, obviously a miss. McDuffie a hit at 220. And then I think the last 2 drafts are maybe a little better than we've given them credit for on this show. 2022, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt. You had that excellent column right in the moment. And we'll see how it pans out. It's the Wonderlick, the intelligence factor at inside linebacker. That might be difficult for Green Bay to overcome. It's such an important position. Still, you have somebody that will hit you, who's violent, who's starting. Christian Watson, 34, hasn't been able to stay healthy. But then Romeo Doubs. Bob, you just watch these other offenses and you just see what a DJ Moore has done for Justin Fields, way back to Diggs for Josh Allen, AJ Brown for Jalen Hurts. It's like, I mean, hell, look what Jordan Love is throwing to around him. Romeo Doubs has been his best weapon. He was 132nd pick just last year. Enagbari's giving you something. Rasheed Walker, he's at least quelled the storm, would you say? It hasn't always been pretty, but You look at some of these offensive lines. Hell, I'm watching that Patriots offensive line against Buffalo. Bailey Zappi's got people in his face the word go. It's just a jailbreak, snap to snap. And then this past draft, obviously, Jaden Reed, slot receiver, dinged up here and there. He's got 60 catches for 681 and 8 touchdowns. Luke Musgrave and Van Ness, those are projection picks like you've described. We'll see. Those are long-term projections, size, speed, athleticism. Really want to see how those pan out. I don't have an opinion one way or another, but you're getting a lot out of Tyler Kraft and Musgrave out. Dontavian Wicks is giving you about as much as you could hope for. Carl Brooks. What about Carrington Valentine and Corey Ballantyne at corner? Excellent in this game against the Vikings. But I think that what really puts Brian Gutekunst in that bare minimum above average category are the veteran pickups. Back to Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell, getting that number 1 seed a few years back. They scour that waiver wire, man. They know how to find players on the scrap heap. Just watching this game against the Vikings, Jonathan Owens making more plays. Ballantyne, Bo Melton. I've got a source with the Seahawks. Man, they liked Melton a lot. They drafted him late. Was he a 7th round pick, I want to say? I think that they weren't that thrilled to see him leave. And he steps in, has the game of his life. Malik Heath, he's been a solid blocking receiver. What about Keyshawn Nixon? Man, he was great in this game. Then you throw in some more higher price ads like Preston Smith. Like I'm not saying he's God's gift to general managing in the NFL, but starting with the Love selection, knowing you're going to piss off Aaron Rodgers, standing by it, right? They could have bailed on Love after they gave Rodgers that money, try to get spare parts. Not a fan of just kind of handing the keys to Rodgers in terms of carte blanche autonomy, do whatever the hell you want any day. Like they're kind of undoing that damage, as you see with the Jair Alexander suspension. But I think they're in good hands. I do. I think that Brian Gutekunst, and you got to give LaFleur credit for scheming things up against Brian Flores in their house, down so many players. I want to see what happens when this dead money comes off the books, and maybe they can make another aggressive move or two to help Love out. I didn't change your mind, did I?
Well, I got him 15, 16, 17. And you in your summary, you said he's above average. Well, how many slots are we arguing about here?
You know what? I'd go. I didn't rank them, and sometimes it's difficult to tell who's really making the calls. Even here it is because they both report to Murphy. And Murphy could have that offseason. Murphy could have said, "Okay, Aaron, gonna send Brian packing." Instead, stands by his GM, refers to Rodgers as a complicated fella. Oh my gosh, that summer still fascinates me. I'd say he's 6th or 7th. I'd put him that high.